Blog Talk Radio.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Red Light Sports Ramble. As always, our pleasure to come to you this afternoon. I am joined with my co-host, Evan Wotallison. I am Troy Otradovic, and today we have Random Topic Tuesday, Evan, which basically we just take some random topics in the sports world and, eventually any random topics, to be honest with you. We've got today, I know you and I have talked in the pre-chat about some college football stuff today, a little bit about the Heisman, a little bit about some of the BCS bowl games and some of the college bowl games. But I have to go out, and I think one of the most probably off-the-wall questions today came from one of our fans, who is Ashley, and she is awesome, Evan. You and I have tweeted with her, but I'm going to throw this question out to you, and her question is, have you guys got your Christmas shopping done? So there's the first random topic on Tuesday. Have you got your Christmas shopping done, Evan?
No, I am not yet, unfortunately.
And
I'm a last-minute kind of guy.
And me either. I have probably about 10% of it done. So, but no, I thought that was a pretty interesting question for us. We don't share a lot of. We do share a lot, but I'm like you. I'll probably be out on Christmas Eve, last minute, waiting till they're kicking everybody out of the store, getting my last present. But I'm at the point now, Evan, I don't know how you feel about it. I'm into the gift card thing. A lot of the people I buy for now, they're not little kids anymore. I have a cute little niece and nephew. That's about it. But they live back in Green Bay, so I don't even see them on Christmas a lot of times. And, I just basically send my sister a gift card and say, hey, go get them something. But, most of the people I'm buying for, it's like they have everything. And if I get it for them anyway, they probably either re-gift it or they bring it back anyway. So I've been really getting into the gift card stuff lately. What about you?
Yeah, it depends. Mostly gift card stuff, but obviously, I get my nephew, well, now nephews. I get them usually something. I got one of my nephews shot for already. My other one I still got to finish for, and then my family I still got to get stuff for. So I'm not quite done yet, but I generally go the gift card route.
Yeah, it's great being an uncle. We can always get those crazy gifts too, that make a lot of noise. My sister loves it when I would do that. But let's move on. Let's ramble a little bit, Evan. Let's talk about the Heisman. The finalists got announced today. I know you and I talked a little bit about it. They're actually inviting 6 finalists to New York for the presentation of the Heisman Trophy. So I'm going to let you go through the names.
Yeah,
I was going to say I'm going to let you go through the names, give your little bit of thought on that, and then we'll talk a little bit about the Heisman. And I think a little bit about what we talked about earlier in a ramble with Manziel and Winston. I think this race has opened up a little bit, but I'm going to let you give the finalists who got invited to New York, which is, like you said, I'm not going to steal your thunder, but it's the most. So go ahead and give that point and the names of the finalists.
Yeah, I was going to say it's the most they've had in New York for the Heisman, since I've heard since 1994. But the surprising one to me is Jordan Lynch from Northern Illinois. Then you have Johnny Manziel, the reigning winner from Texas A&M, Trey Mason from Auburn, A.J. McCarron from Alabama, and I hope he does not win. I don't think he deserves to be in the category with everyone he's here with, but we'll catch on that later. Andre Williams from Boston College and Jameis Winston from Florida State wrap up the final 6 for the Heisman. So very strong group of candidates. I really like Andre Williams from Boston College. He's rushed over 2,000 yards this year. And, I said earlier that Johnny Manziel should win it. I still feel that he's one of the best players in the country. But with his team having 4 losses, it'd be very hard for him to be voted in.
Well, let's talk about that for a minute, Evan. You had mentioned something there. 4 losses, and so he's not going to win the Heisman. And correct me if I'm wrong. I know success breeds notoriety. It breeds people to notice you. But isn't the Heisman Trophy supposed to be given to the best player in college football? And when I look
it's supposed to, but it doesn't work out that way all the time. Like Ken Dorsey won the Heisman, so that should tell you right there who it goes to.
Which, to me, as a fan, kind of takes away from it a little bit. You know, I like Winston. You and I talked about it because we were debating at that time who was the front runner, and I thought Winston, you know, based on his play, honestly, I think he slipped a little bit here in the last couple of weeks. And I'm thinking, with inviting 6 people to New York, maybe this race is a little tighter than we think. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it could be, because if it was only a 2 or 3 person race, then they would. I don't think they would invite 6. I think it's an open competition. Now, I don't believe Jordan Lynch has a shot to win. Trey Mason, possibility. He's come on strong towards the end of the season. I don't think A.J. McCarron has a chance to win, and I don't think Andre Williams has a chance to win because of name recognition. But I think it's going to basically come down to Winston and Manziel and Mason, those 3 guys who it's going to come down to. So,
yeah,
but inviting the 6, I think it's opened up a little bit.
Well, I think part of what we're seeing here is that, you know, we have sports writers across the country that are voting. And so you've got Trey Mason, who put up unbelievable numbers in that SEC championship game, which was a nationally televised game. I mean, that pretty much vaulted him up into that group of people. You got the East Coast sports writers who probably know of Andre Williams. I mean, 2,100 yards rushing, that's a lot of yards on the ground. I mean, that's a ton of yards.
Yeah.
You know, so the East Coast writers probably have him on the ballot. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets some votes, because 2,100 yards in a college season, that is unbelievable. You know, but like you said, not a lot of name recognition. BC not playing in a lot of nationally televised games. You know, and then A.J. McCarron, I'm with you. When I look at this group of 6, and I look at just the body of work, which to me, again, the Heisman Trophy, as a player, he should be 6 out of these people. He should be number 6. I mean, he doesn't have the greatest numbers in the world. Yes, he did lead a team to, the number 1 ranking until the 1 loss. But when you compare the stats and you look at the overall quality of player, I don't think that he's in the top 3. I think he's in number 6 of these people. You know, the Johnny Manziel, you mentioned 4 losses. I mean, the guy, I was reading the article, and he's actually thrown for more yards than last year. The only thing that he went down in is he's way down in his rushing yards and rushing TDs. So that's a little bit different than his Heisman winning year. But, you know, Jordan Lynch, too, coming in, that's a guy from Northern Illinois, which, you know, probably, you know, no recognition whatsoever. But, I mean, the guy has put up total yards. This is total yards, Evan, rushing and passing, 4,574 total yards. Most of anyone on this list.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I think 1,800 of that's rushing.
Yes. I'll actually, as you're talking, I will take a look in this article. And when I look down, let's see here, Mr. Lynch, he has, I lost it on here. While I'm doing that, though, 1,881 yards rushing. And they say he took the hit when Northern Illinois lost to Bowling Green. Again, when I look at these things, Evan, the losses and the team's success, I understand it. But I'm not saying I agree with it. You know, I'm saying that's the way, in my opinion, that's the way society has went. What means, and you had mentioned, you know, when Paul Hornung won with Notre Dame. He wasn't on the best team in the country. We need to get back.
They only won like 1 or 2 games that year.
Yeah, if we're going to go back and they're going to change the criteria for the Heisman that you have to be on a winning team, then they need to do that. Because when you're looking at Lynch's numbers, 1,800 rushing yards as a quarterback, and the other thing, too, is he has 46 total touchdowns, which is 5 more than Johnny Manziel, 4 more than Winston. And he's got 22 rushing, 23 passing, and he's also caught 1. So the guy has put the ball in the end zone. So it's a good group. When I look at it, as far as moving forward, it'll be interesting to watch that ceremony. And it's nice, though, in my opinion, to see a guy from the Midwest, from Northern Illinois, actually be invited to New York to be mentioned amongst the 6 best players in the country. That's pretty neat.
Yeah, that is very neat. I'm glad to see him get the recognition. He didn't get it last year, and he put up really huge stats last year. But it's good to see him get the recognition this year. And I think if they would have beat Bowling Green, because that was their chance on the national stage, I think he would have got more votes. But with that Bowling Green game, I think that hurt him big time.
Yeah, again, I agree with you from the standpoint that it hurt him. But personally, I don't agree with the way that it works. I'm still one where when I look at the award, it's given out to the best player in the country. And so when you're looking at it, people argue, well, he doesn't play against the same competition that a McCarron plays against, or a Winston or a Manziel plays against. And I can buy into that argument a little bit. The competition probably isn't as stiff. But, he still put up some huge numbers,
Yeah.
Consistently across the years. So, but with that said, any last tidbits on the Heisman? Your thoughts on it? Like I said, I was all for Winston. I think I'm still in that corner, but I think it's a lot closer than it was a few weeks ago, just based on the different things that I've seen over the past couple weeks on Saturday. But did you have any last points on the Heisman?
I would love to see either Andre Williams win it or Manziel win it for a second year. Now, before you get on Williams not playing against the greatest competition, he played against the exact same competition that Winston played against, both ACC teams, so you can't make that argument. But 2,100 yards is 2,100 yards. And then Johnny Manziel, he had to do a lot of it on his own. His defense was so bad. If it wasn't for his defense being so bad, he probably would have had a couple more wins instead of 4 losses. So I don't think you punish Manziel for his team's defensive play, because he doesn't go out there and play defense. He's their quarterback. He's their leader. So, but it should be very exciting to watch on Saturday.
Yeah, it really is. And I'll tell you what, after seeing the list of 6, and I'll be honest, I've heard of Williams at BC. I heard he was having a standout year. But to be honest, as much as I cover college, I don't cover it, I watch it. As much as I watch college football, I've seen his name here and there. I haven't seen him play a lot. But now when I actually had a chance today to read about him, I like the kid. I actually like him. And I have to agree with you. He played against the same competition Winston did. And so, again, when you're looking at the players, he put up huge numbers. 2,100 yards is just unbelievable. So, hats off to him. I think, he's vaulted himself into the top 6 players in the country. He's probably really vaulted himself up on a draft board here and there. The kid looks like he's got a bright future going on. So, as we move forward and just stay with the college football theme, I know you and I were talking a little bit about some of the BCS bowls, and I know we're not going to get into the whole BCS thing, but you and I were talking about some of these interesting matchups, as the bowl games come out. I personally think that it's a little bit oversaturated with the number of bowls, but I think there's some really good matchups that are out there when they selected these bowls. Is there one that's more intriguing to you, Evan?
The Michigan State-Stanford games, I find that very intriguing. And the Missouri-Oklahoma State game, one that you had mentioned in the pre-chat, that intrigued me a lot, too. Missouri is a very good football team. Oklahoma State was, a last-second touchdown away from being in the BCS bowls. Cotton Beat, it's listed, from what I got, the BCS bowls, what I printed off, it's listed with the BCS bowls, but I think they would have been in the Sugar Bowl against Bama if it wasn't for that loss against Oklahoma in the last game of the year. But it should be very, very interesting. And then Baylor intrigues me too. I think Baylor is a very underrated football team, and I think we're going to see the team that Baylor has to play. That team really interests me too in the bowl games.
Yeah, they're playing Central Florida. They're playing UCF.
Yeah, for some reason that isn't on the list of bowl games. When I took off the BCS bowls, Baylor's not on here for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah, that is the Fiesta Bowl.
They left off the Fiesta Bowl.
Yeah, Fiesta Bowl on New Year's Day. 2 11-1 teams, a Baylor team, and like you said, a Baylor team that is ranked 6th in the country, Evan. But I don't think a lot of people know about them. You and I watch college.
No, if it wasn't for that Oklahoma State loss that they had, they would have been in conversation with the national championship game with Florida State and Auburn and Bama and all the other teams up there. They would have been right in that discussion, being undefeated in the Big 12.
Yeah, exactly. And they've got a really good football team at Baylor. There's another game that that I was mentioning to you, and that's another Big Ten team. You and I had talked about this. Where we cheer a lot for the Big Ten, and I know it's just and I say it's just the Gator Bowl, but it is the Gator Bowl on New Year's Day, and it's Nebraska against Georgia. That matchup intrigues me a lot too. That should be a good pounded out type game. I know Andy Murray, is going to be able to be at quarterback. A lot of people say that, he's a draft prospect in the NFL, and it'll be interesting to see how he matches up against a Big Ten style of defense. And you cover the Badgers, and so for those listeners that maybe not are college football fans, Evan, give them a little bit of overview about Big Ten football. I mean, I watch it all the time, and I just watch it compared to other conferences. I'm not saying the Big Ten is the best conference by any means. They're down a little bit. But give some of the listeners, if I mention Big Ten football to you, give me 2 or 3 key points on how you would describe the way football is played in the Big Ten.
Well, the Big Ten isn't the same Big Ten that it was back when I was back. When I was watching the Rose Bowl back in '93 when the Badgers went for the first time. It's not the same Big Ten. The Big Ten is kind of a mix of all different kinds of things. You got your smash mouth, punch them in the mouth football teams like your Michigan States, your Wisconsins, and then you have the teams that like to spread it out and run a lot of zone read and spread option and stuff like that. Your Ohio State, your Nebraska runs a lot of that. Penn State runs their pro-style offense. So you kind of see a little bit of all in the Big Ten. Big Ten, they always are known for their defense. A lot of strong defenses in the Big Ten, Wisconsin, Michigan State, Ohio State. They are some of the top defenses in the country this year. So the physicality is still there, but they also have the spread it out style in there as well.
And I think where I wanted you to go with that is the last point you made, the defense. I know every time that I look at a Big Ten conference game, you're always looking at, where are these teams defensively? And, there's some good defensive battles that go on. I look at it from a standpoint, like I said, they are down when it comes to where do you rank this conference amongst the best in the country, and they're down a little bit. There's no arguing that, but they still play a style of defense that really intrigues me in the Big Ten because a lot of hard hitting, a lot of good defensive coordinators. Those teams know each other inside and out, and unfortunately, the Badgers found out the hard way, with a couple losses to Ohio State, but. They play good defense, and that's what that intrigues me about that Nebraska-Georgia game, is how is Andy Murray going to, go from the SEC competition to playing against a Big Ten-style defense. It'll be interesting to see. I can't wait to watch that game. When you look through, I made the point, Evan, of so many bowls this year, and living in Pittsburgh, they're going to the Little Caesars Bowl. And so what is your thought on the actual number of bowl games that are now out there for college football. Basically, you just have to be 6-6 to be able to get into a bowl game. But what's your personal opinion? And for me, this is going to be intriguing because I never asked you this off the air. So I hope I don't catch you off guard. But I just want to get your thought on the number of bowl games that are out there at the end of the season.
I think they just have bowl games just to have bowl games, to be honest. They have the Little Caesars Bowl, they have the Buffalo Wild Wings Bowl, they have the Poinsettia Bowl, they have the Potato Bowl, the Hawaii Bowl. I think they just have in some cases, bowl games just to have bowl games. It's just way too many. Bowl season should be out there for, I would say, teams that finish 7-5 or better. You don't need 6-6 or 6-7 teams playing in bowl games. You really don't. There's just way too many.
Yeah, I'm just looking at the list, and going down it. They've got the New Mexico Bowl. They've got the Texas Bowl. They've got the Belk Bowl. I like this one, the Bell Helicopter Armed Forces Bowl. They got the American Mortgage Music City Bowl. I mean, I remember growing up that
Pinstripe Bowl played in Yankee Stadium.
I guess this is for a good cause, but it's the Fight Hunger Bowl. I understand it's a good cause, but again, it might be just a bowl game to have a bowl game, and I know part of me is wanting to say this is just greed by the NCAA. I mean, people,
it is.
The bowl.
Why do you think they resisted the playoffs for so long, and why do you think it took them forever just to finally agree on a 4-team playoff? It's greed. They want money in their pocket. They don't want to. They say it's for the athletes, and they got final season and all that, and a long, drawn-out playoff would take too long. But Division II does it. Division I AA, I forget what they're calling themselves these days. Division III, NAIA, they all have playoff systems, and they seem to work. So.
Yeah, and with that in mind, I'm still waiting for Kevin Cunningham, the editor from the Royal Purple, which is from UW-Whitewater, to get back in touch with me. We definitely want to try and get him on to talk about Division III playoff football. Whitewater's traveling down to Texas to play this Saturday in the national semifinals. So, like you're saying, the regular season doesn't matter if you're Division I, Division III. There is a day when you can have your first game and you're allowed to play X amount of games. And you're absolutely right. Division II, Division III does it. The subdivision does it. And so why can't Division I do it? I don't know why, and I think it goes
about the money.
Exactly. It's all about the money. And if we're going truly to say it's about the players, and I'm loving this. I'm glad we brought this up, Evan. This is a great way to end the ramble today. If it's truly about the players, then every team should get an extra bowl game at the end of the year. If we're going truly just that it's about the athlete, everybody should get an opportunity to play then. Because isn't that what we're teaching the kids nowadays? Everybody gets to play.
Pretty much.
Everybody gets to play, and everyone gets
a trophy.
Everyone gets a trophy and a ribbon, and we get pizza after the game. So if it's truly about the
athlete, take that pizza away.
Well, yeah, I love pizza too, but our Dairy Queen or something. But maybe there is a Little Caesars Bowl. That's a good bowl. It's a pizza bowl.
Yeah.
But I think my point is, it's you and I both know it's not about the players. It's about the money. You look at every one of these games, and it's sponsored by a company now. The Tostitos Fiesta Bowl, the All-State Sugar Bowl, the Discover Orange Bowl, the BBVA Compass Bowl.
The Rose Bowl presented by Vizio.
Yep.
That's the only bowl that doesn't have the sponsorship before the bowl name. It's the Rose Bowl presented by Vizio.
Exactly. And I think they're trying to keep the sanctity of the Rose Bowl. And I think I told you the picture for the video on YouTube tonight is actually a nice picture of the front of the Rose Bowl. So
cool.
That is a bowl game near and dear to Big Ten fans. I know Wisconsin. I think we got spoiled with that run that Alvarez gave us in the 90s, Evan, and then recent history, getting back there a number of times. I think we get spoiled now, hoping we can keep going back. But I'm not going to argue with the Wisconsin game against the Capital One bowl game. I think it's a good bowl for them. We've got about 5 minutes left, and I wanted to end with that since you cover Wisconsin, and maybe before the bowl game, which is a New Year's Day game, we'll definitely talk a little more in depth about it. But without getting into a lot of research, and I know that the matchup just came out, what is your quick take on that game against South Carolina? I mean, that's a good test for the Badgers in my mind.
Very good test, I think, for both teams. Wisconsin loves to run the football. We all know that. They have Melvin Gordon, they have James White, they have Corey Clement. They love to run the football and get downfield on play action. Well, South Carolina's got one of the stronger defensive lines in the country, led by Clowney, who we'll see if he gets punished at all for his action that he just did, driving 110 and a 70 mile per hour speed limit.
Ridiculous.
But yeah, so we'll see what happens with that. But North Carolina, like I said, South Carolina's got a very strong defensive line. Wisconsin's got a very good offensive line. Wisconsin's defense, they stop the run very well, and South Carolina likes to run the football, and they like to run some zone read stuff and run that like the fake to the running back and quarterback keep it or vice versa. But Wisconsin's seen that a few times this year. They saw it with Indiana, ran a little bit of it. They saw it with Ohio State, Arizona State. They ran a little bit of it. So, it's not like they haven't seen it before. It should be a good matchup for both teams. It should be a physical game. Both teams are going to want to punch each other in the mouth. So we'll see which lines perform better.
Yeah, that's going to come down to probably what we talk about with the Packers. Who's going to win in the trenches? Because the Badgers, like you said, are going to want to pound the ball, and South Carolina's got that good defensive line. I mean, you got some crazy stuff off the field with Mr. Clowney, but I don't know what he's thinking. I don't want to get into that. We only got 2 minutes left. That's just ridiculous actions off the field. Got to be a little more mature than that. But with that said, Bud, a really good ramble today. I mean, we talked a little bit of college football. It was nice to get away from the NFL. As much as I love the NFL, it was nice to chat a little bit about college football. You and I had mentioned, I think sometimes you and I watch college football more than the NFL, and it's nice to be able to chat about that a little bit. And as always, I want to thank our fans. I'm going to give a special shout out, a little joking here at the end, Evan. Ashley has really been emailing the show. If you remember, I had called her a Red Light Sports Ramble groupie the other day. Well, she's taken that to heart. She's put that on her profile. And she has now said when we get rich and famous to not forget about the little ones. And so she has now claimed herself the president and CEO of the Red Light Sports Ramble fan base. So we've got a fan base, Evan.
Yeah.
And we've got a president of our fan base. It's Ashley. So with that said, Bud, we got about a minute left. As always, I'm going to let you wrap it up. Give the due thanks that are needed for everyone that we contribute to, and we'll let our listeners go at that.
90 seconds.
Well, thanks to Cass and YourDailyCowboysFootballFix.com, and thanks to Ashley and her being supportive, and Mark, who's also been very supportive, and Gene and everybody. So thank you for listening, and keep listening, and we want the show to be about you. So even with the negative caller yesterday, kind of hurts us a little bit. I wanted to take calls.
60 seconds.
And, we want you to interact with us.
Yeah, we didn't get one caller today. And part of me saying that's okay today. I would have been a little worried hitting the microphone to see what we had on the line. But, I know you had mentioned some people. We don't mean to let anybody out. We love every single one of our people that interact with us. And there's a number of venues. We tweet them out. Evan and I are both on Twitter. We have our Facebook page. We have our YouTube channel. We're, of course, on Blog Talk Radio. We're working with a number of people to keep expanding the Red Light Sports Ramble. But the bottom line is we thank everyone for every listen. The reason we do this is because we love to talk about sports and we love to get your opinion. So with that said, everyone, we'll see you at the next Red Light. We'll talk to you soon.